One sparkle in a river can change a continent. In 1848, that sparkle turned California into a magnet, and the West into a pressure cooker. At Sutter's Mill near Coloma, James Marshall found gold while building a sawmill. The discovery was small, but the news would explode. Sutter wanted secrecy. He needed his workers and his land. But workers, visitors, and word of mouth made silence impossible. And gold is a secret that leaks fast once everyone starts watching. Word traveled by whispers, letters, and shouting mouths. Soon people stopped farming, stopped building, stopped everything, and started digging. San Francisco was a sleepy port until it wasn't. The moment the city believed, it began transforming into the supply heart of a gold-hungry world. The gold rush wasn't just a California story. It was a migration engine. People rerouted their lives overnight, chasing a rumor that felt like destiny. To reach California, you gambled on routes. Overland by wagon, sea to Panama then across, or the brutal voyage around Cape Horn. Every path had a price, even before the first shovel hit dirt. The overland route tested patience and bodies. For many, the first true battle of the gold rush was simply surviving the road. The Sierra Nevada could turn dreams into disasters. A late season or wrong trail meant hunger, cold, and the terrifying realization that gold was still far away. By sea, you traded dust for storms and time. Months on water could break tempers, and sometimes ships, before anyone even saw California. Across Panama, heat and disease were silent enemies. The shortcut could be faster, but it demanded a toll paid in exhaustion and risk. When the fever hit, crews deserted ships by the hundreds. The harbor became a floating graveyard of abandoned promises. The diggings were crowded, loud, and unpredictable. Everyone believed the next swirl of water might reveal their ticket to a new life. Panning was slow, back-breaking work, but it felt magical. Gold didn't come from kings. It came from patience and a steady wrist. Very quickly, miners invented ways to process more dirt. The gold rush became a workshop of frantic engineering, anything to beat the guy upstream. With no clear system at first, miners made their own rules. A claim could be defended by paper, fists, or simply by having more friends. Mining camps created rough democracy, meetings, votes, and homemade law. It was imperfect, but it was a start, because chaos always demands a referee. In many places, gold dust became currency. The rush didn't just create miners, it created a whole new economy built on tiny, glittering grains. With demand exploding, prices soared. Often, the people selling shovels and food made steadier fortunes than the people digging for gold. Wherever miners gathered, towns appeared like mushrooms after rain. Some would vanish fast, but others would become permanent dots on the map. Wooden towns, crowded tents, and open flames were a recipe for disaster. Fires could erase a boomtown in hours and rebuild it in days. Where money is loose and law is thin, crime thrives. The gold rush attracted dreamers and people who preyed on dreamers. In some places, citizens formed vigilante committees. Sometimes they fought corruption. Other times they became a power of their own. The rush forced politics to sprint. California jumped from remote frontier to U.S. state in 1850 because the world had already moved in. People arrived from everywhere. The Americas, Europe, Asia, and beyond. The West was being built as a global crossroads, not a closed club. Thousands came from China, bringing discipline, networks, and resilience. They would shape California deeply, even as hostility grew around them. As competition intensified, discrimination hardened. Taxes and harassment targeted certain groups, proving the gold rush was not equal opportunity for everyone. Women were fewer in early mining camps, but many built essential businesses. In a world of shaky luck, steady services became real power. A support economy sprang up beside the mines. Not everyone struck gold in rivers. Some struck it in routines that miners couldn't live without. Later in the rush, miners needed gear that could survive mud, sweat, and sharp rock. Entrepreneurs like Levi Strauss leaned into tough workwear, proving you could strike gold by selling what the miners couldn't live without. By the early 1850s, shipping gold and letters safely became its own industry. Companies that moved information and money quickly became the nervous system of the frontier. Stagecoaches tied distant towns together. Every trip was a gamble against weather, terrain, and the ever-present possibility of robbery. Newspapers amplified the fever, turning whispers into mass movement. The West was built not only by pickaxes, but by headlines. Surface gold didn't last forever. The easy days ended quickly, and the work became heavier, riskier, and more technical. New methods like hydraulic mining could move mountains, almost literally. It also reshaped California's environment, leaving scars that lasted generations. Mud and debris flooded valleys and farmlands, sparking conflict. The rush forced Americans to confront an early question: how much damage is worth it for wealth? And eventually, courts stepped in to draw limits. For native Californians, the gold rush often meant invasion. Land, food sources, and safety were disrupted, as camps and roads spread faster than any protection, pushing whole communities aside. Boomtown strained supplies and sanitation. Sickness traveled the same roads as fortune, reminding everyone that the West had no safety net. Winter could pause the hunt and empty pockets fast. In the rush, seasons weren't scenery, they were deadlines. Sometimes someone really did hit it big. Those rare wins kept the dream alive for thousands who found only dust and disappointment. For most, the gold rush didn't end in riches. It ended in lessons about risk, endurance, and the cruel math of overcrowded opportunity. After brutal days, people craved noise and warmth. Entertainment became a survival tool, because hope needs breaks to breathe. The West was being built faster than institutions could form. Courts, sheriffs, and regulations struggled to keep pace with a population that refused to sit still. San Francisco became the rush's command center: banking, shipping, and supplies. Gold pulled people to the hills, but the city pulled the whole region into modern commerce. Some fortunes were made without ever panning a river. The gold rush crowned merchants, shippers, and financiers as quiet kings of a chaotic economy. As easy gold vanished, better tools mattered. The rush became a laboratory of upgrades where survival depended on problem solving. Over time, big operations pushed out small dreamers. The West began shifting from individual luck to organized capital, another kind of power. Water rights became as valuable as claims. In the West, control of water often decided who could live and who could profit. Miners didn't just dig, they redirected nature. The gold rush helped invent the West's famous obsession with big infrastructure. California became a symbol worldwide. People chased not just gold, but the idea that the West could reboot your entire life. Miners came from Mexico, Chile, France, Ireland, and more. The West's identity formed from collisions and collaborations between strangers. Laws were used to shape who belonged. Policies like the foreign miners' tax singled out non-American miners, turning competition into exclusion by paperwork instead of pickaxes. In growing cities, vigilante groups sometimes filled a vacuum, but they also blurred lines between justice and control. The West learned quickly that stability can come with sharp edges. To turn dust into spendable wealth, you needed assays and banks. The gold rush helped build financial infrastructure that made the West more than a rumor. Letters were lifelines. The rush separated families for years, and the mail carried hope, grief, and the stubborn promise to come home. Gold fever was loud, but loneliness was common. Many chased fortune while quietly missing the world they'd left behind. Mining was risky, even without bandits or gunfights. The ground, the water, and the weather were constant threats in a world built too fast. Conflict was baked into scarcity. When everyone believed they were one day away from riches, even a few feet of riverbank felt priceless. Mining camps invented justice on the fly. It could be fair or it could be biased, but it proved communities were trying to become more than mobs. As some settlers stayed, they built routes, schools, churches, and routines. That's how chaos slowly hardens into a community. Permanent buildings meant people were betting on the West long term. The rush began as a stampede, but it ended by creating cities that planned to last. Gold created pressure for faster travel and shipping. The idea of linking oceans by rail gained urgency because the West was now too important to feel far away. The telegraph made information faster than wagons or ships. In a rush economy, speed of news could be as valuable as gold itself. Not all gold was mined. Some was imagined into paper profits. Speculation helped build cities, but it also fueled bubbles and broken dreams. The gold rush mixed cultures in daily life. The West's future accent, its food, music, and attitude, formed in crowded camps like this. The rush also unleashed brutal prejudice. For many communities, opportunity came paired with intimidation, and survival meant constant vigilance. Even under pressure, people organized, adapted, and kept going. The West was shaped by resilience as much as by wealth. California taught a lesson the continent wouldn't forget. Strike rumors create migrations. The rush became a template for future booms: silver, copper, oil, and more. When the gold moved, towns could die overnight. The West gained its famous ghost towns, monuments to hope that ran out. Many didn't go home. They became the builders of California, turning a temporary stampede into permanent communities. In just a few years, California's population exploded. That surge changed politics, culture, and the balance of power in the United States. The gold rush forged a myth of the West: risk, reinvention, and rugged independence. The myth wasn't fully true, but it was powerful enough to steer history. The rush created winners and many more losers. It taught the West a harsh lesson: opportunity doesn't guarantee fairness. Gold didn't just fill pockets, it fueled investment. Ports, banks, and industry grew around the rush, locking California into the global economy. After the fever, migration didn't stop, it changed. The West became a place to settle, build, and plan, not just to gamble. These tools look simple, but they moved millions of people. The gold rush was built from everyday objects, an extraordinary human risk. The 49er became a legend, but most stories were complicated. The West was built by both triumph and disappointment, woven together. From transport to technology, the rush rewarded speed and adaptability. Those values became part of the West's identity long after the gold ran thin. The gold rush was chaos, messy, unfair, and unstoppable. But that chaos built roads, cities, and systems that shaped the West forever. If you want more epic moments that forge the world we live in, stick with Tiny Titans History. Hit subscribe, and let's time travel again.